Thank you, Scenic Magazine. We are about 4 minutes out from our live show here. We are doing this for the first time we've ever done this. We're trying this out to see if live audience makes difference here from our studio. We've done some live shows from the wilderness, just real quick ones. We're going to do a different format today. If you come join us here, just going to test this out, give us a few minutes to get started. I'm going to run the show whether we have guests or not because our show today is going to be a little bit different, where we're going to do a little bit of what's going on here this week. We're going to do a little longer format of our year in review of the Sierra. I'm going to take you back of all the things that we covered as we embraced more adventure in Sierra in 2024. And then we're going to take you through month by month of what to do in the Sierra, like kind of like our guide to the best things to do in the Sierra by month. So if you're new to the Sierra or haven't experienced Sierra Rec Magazine before, or what we do at Sierra Rec Now podcast, this show is kind of for you. It's going to probably be a little bit longer format, maybe around an hour today. We're hoping some guests will join us. We can have some conversations, but if they don't, this will recording will be live and usable as well. So we're going to a couple minutes for show here before we really get started here. I'm trying to learn who's live and where. I see I got a YouTube um, person on there, but I'm trying to see. It's first time using this device. I apologize, guys. We're going to learn this live here. So I do have a chat um, button here, so maybe I can see that on there. But if you're on YouTube, thanks for joining us today. We will go in here just a moment here. We get started on the show. Leave us some comments down below. Let us know where you're from. If you visit the Sierra often, and our big question today is, what is your favorite adventure to take newcomers into the Sierra? So, do you like taking people skiing first time, snowshoeing, hiking, backpacking? What's your go-to location for newcomers to the Sierra? And then, what month is the best month to come to the Sierra Nevada mountains? So, we're going to be answering some of those today as we go through our year in review and then our guide to the Sierra month by month. We're going to go through each and every month of our recommendations of what to do in the Sierra Nevada, some of the hot places to go, places to visit, events to see, et cetera, from our point of view. Again, this is our 10th anniversary, doing something special here at the end of the year, trying to do something brand new. Um, and so, yeah, we're super excited about doing it. I'm going to get started here in just about 30 seconds here. If you're on YouTube, hold on. We'll get you going here. So, and this will be live here a little bit later. So, all right. Okay, as we get going here, we're going to jump into this and get ready to rock and roll here. So, if you're on YouTube, by the way, everything we get done here recording, I'll timestamp this so you guys can watch it back in the future and go to the section that you're most interested in. So that should go. So, well, good afternoon, guys. My name is Charlie Pankey. I'm with Sierra Rec Magazine and the host of the Sierra Rec Now podcast. We thank you for joining us today. We hope that this show, wherever you're at, whether you're on YouTube or streaming this live on Spotify, that you're having a great day. And the Sierra Nevada is in your future. That's what this channel is all about. If you're a first-time visitor here, we talk about Sierra all year long. We have a Sierra Rec Now podcast online on YouTube, Spotify. We do our adventure videos on YouTube as well. And then we host a magazine online called SierraRecMagazine.com, where we host news, trip reviews, itineraries, kind of our view of the Sierra, if you will. Our goal is to help everyone discover more of the Sierra. Don't just go always to the same location, but understand the whole 500-mile length of the Sierra, all the different things in its width and different places you can explore. And we've had a ton of fun on this podcast this year. This is our end of the year show. We've done just over 40 shows this year, and we've had podcast guests from all over the Sierra. We're going to be running through those here in a minute. Today's show is going to our show is usually about 30 minutes. Today we're going to go a little bit longer as we do our year in review. I've got some highlight videos to show you today, and then we're going to walk through month by month of our recommendations for the Sierra month by month. So this is our first live event. We've never done one from studio today. We're just trying this out. I am a single entrepreneur, sole creator, if you will, of this. So I do appreciate your comments wherever you're at today, and hopefully we can figure out this comment here. So I thought it would show up here. I don't quite have that. So if I miss you guys, just leave me comments down below. I'll get it all corrected. I'm one of these guys that just jumps in and tries things out. And I do that in my adventures too. So glad to share that to you. So welcome wherever you're at. I hope you're enjoying your Christmas. You enjoyed your Christmas. You're ready for a great New Year. This week in the Sierra, we've had really kind of a mixture. We had like 60-mile-an-hour winds last night here in the Carson Valley. We have trees down and some of the fences down in our neighborhoods. Um, Palisades Resort, they got about a foot of snow last night. And north, it seems like north of Lake Tahoe up in Truckee area got the most snow. We have another storm coming in this weekend. All the ski resorts have a good 50-inch base somewhere around there, maybe a 100-inch base up in Palisades on the top. They said, but so we've got a good snow base down all the way Mammoth coming forward. It did actually in the last couple weeks warm up. So like places like Hope Valley and stuff where snow was super deep and powdery 2 weeks ago, it's now really compact, kind of more shallow. So hopefully more snow's coming this weekend for that. But we love exploring this year in December. It's a great time to get out. And so one of the things that we do is, in this podcast is we like to interview guests. And so if you're out there and first time you're hearing Scenic Magazine, you know a business in the area or somebody that runs a guide service or just want to tell your adventures, we like to tell your story in 2025. That's one of the themes we're going to be going for is tell your story of the Sierra in 2025. We've been telling ours for 10 years. We'd like to get some more voices in it. So I'd love to hear your feedback. Share today your favorite place to take somebody new to the Sierra and what time of year you like to go to the Sierra. And we'll be sharing our tips along the way as well. So let's dive in and let's start with a little bit of review of where we're at. Okay. We started 2024 with the idea of embracing new adventure in the Sierra. That was our theme of our first magazine of the year. And we challenged our readers to embrace something new, do something outside the box. Like I hike all the time. I'm a hiker. I love just day hikes, day trips, traveling places where I can hike for the day and come home. That's kind of my mo, right? I backpack a little bit, and I have some great backpacking trip stories from this year. I'll share with you, but I wanted to embrace myself, and that's kind of where this magazine always comes from. Is what am I doing, right? So then sharing with you guys. But I wanted to embrace some new concepts. So this year, for example, I learned how to do disc golf. I did some disc golfing here in the Carson Valley, over on the coast. So we just tried some different courses. I didn't make it to Kirkwood. That was my one big thing this year I wanted to get up to and do. I didn't make it to Kirkwood for disc golf, but I will. I learned how to paddleboard. I've never paddleboarded till this year. So shout out to Outdoor Masters who provided me with a paddleboard. Did a whole series on paddleboarding in the Sierra. I did a paddleboard to Lake Almanor and Blue Lakes. Went down and paddleboarded, sorry, um, um, on Highland Lakes. I got up on Convict Lake. So lots of different places. Tenaya Lake was my favorite. Obviously in Yosemite, that's where I'd always wanted to do that. So I got to do some paddleboarding in Yosemite this year. What else did I do new this year? Did some simulated golf, which probably isn't an adventure, but I've never done some simulated golf, so that was pretty cool. And I went to some new places. Didn't do a horseback ride this year. I did go bass fishing on the pro bass tour and got to run on a bass boat and take some photos. That was pretty cool. So yeah, it's been a whole year of embracing. Through my highlight videos, I'll probably cover some more. And doing this podcast. I had started the podcast a couple years ago, and it wasn't my main focus. I was just dabbling on different ways to put content out, reach audience. My heart to this whole situation is helping people kind of discover where to go, right? People were, for years looking at my Facebook posts and pictures I posted and go, where's that at? Where's that? Didn't know that existed. And lo and behold, most of the time they were right. They've been here for years and didn't know existed. So I just decided that my creative nature to go ahead and start building something. And Sierra Magazine, if you don't know, is a free magazine. You can get it online for free today. We publish 6 digital editions each year. We do this YouTube channel, the Spotify podcast. And we're just always coming to different creative ways of putting content out for stories people read. And we have guest writers that come in. Craig Cooper up at Truckee is one of our big guest writers. He wrote several stories this year of backpacking down the Eastern Sierra, which is great. Bill Finch is our desolation old time expert. Just talked to Bill. I just want to shout a prayer to Bill if you happen to see the show. Hope you and your wife are feeling better. I know Bill didn't get to go hiking this year. His health is diminishing there in the Folsom, Sacramento area, and he loves Desolation Wilderness. So he's shared some great stories on Desolation Wilderness. We've had some other writers too. Just really happy to have him on board. I got James McNew. I think it's McNew. He's been writing some really creative stories for us lately. We just published one, matter of fact, on a funniest turkey hunt experience he had in the northern part of the Sierra. um, and worth your read if you're an outdoorsman like hunting and fishing stories. Great opportunity there. So we did that in 2024, and that was all part of embracing our new adventures. We're still kind of working on our theme for our January issue of 2025. Um, I've kind of been dicing around all kinds of different things and trying to figure out how to kind of slow down, if you will, how to soak in the Sierra. That might be where I go, soak in the Sierra. Um, One of the things I experienced in 2025 or 2024 was a little bit of fatigue, right? Where I'm always on the go. You ever done that where you go like 13 straight weeks outdoors and you all of a sudden you're just exhausted for for a bit? That happened to me this summer, and it was just such a weird summer where I did these monumental, great experiences in Sequoia and Yosemite and week long trips to Lassen, Lake Almanor area stuff, and I had to take weeks off. I traveled to Montreal and Quebec with my family, and just I needed weeks off to recover. Where I didn't go out where like you go back to 2021, 22, 18, all those years, I'd be gone for like every single week hiking someplace, right? And so I wore myself out a little bit this week. Hit some points where I was like, okay, I need to take some weeks off, stay home with the wife, hang out with the dog, do that kind of thing. So we're kind of talking about 25 is how do we experience it more like Muir did, right? Muir talks about wandering through the woods, about wandering through the wilderness, and not, getting on a path and making a beeline to the lake or river, but how do we enjoy the experience of the Sierra, which it means the animals, the sounds, the solitude that we can find, all the different experiences. And that's kind of what our channel has been all about. This voice of the Sierra is about spreading out and discovering more, so that we're not all piled into South Lake Tahoe. I love South Lake Tahoe, but we shouldn't have 200,000 people on the beaches there. We have plenty of room to spread out 20 miles away. So that's kind of where we're at today. So we jump into this episode. I've got some highlight videos for you. I've got some a thank yous to guests. I want to go and say that. But biggest thing I want to do is we're going to go month by month, and we're going to talk about the best things to do in the Sierra every month. Those will all be timestamped down below. You should be able to, hey, what do I do in the Sierra in April? You could just go to the timestamp. We'll talk about it here today. It should give you a jumping off point to where to go look, things a bit to maybe consider as you're doing that. As we go on. So before we get started today, I want to make sure that I do a shout out to our sponsors. Our big sponsor here for the podcast, and our only sponsor of the podcast is the Carson Valley. Visit Carson Valley. It's our home base for all of our adventures. Carson Valley is located just south of Reno, Carson City area, just below South Lake Tahoe. If you're skiing on Heavenly Mountain this winter and looking down in that big old valley down below, that's the Carson Valley. That's my home base. It is the perfect base for me to get out and explore the Sierra. But be honest with you, we have like 100 miles of trails right here in town. There are outdoor off-road vehicle opportunities right behind my house. I can golf here on some of the best golf courses on in Nevada. Right here in Genoa, got the history of Genoa here in town. So we got all these great things right here in the Carson Valley. Sometimes people go, "Why do you even leave town?" I understand that. I happen to be an explorer, so I love coming back to the Carson Valley in my life here, and it's a great place to live. But let me have them share with you their perspective. There you go. So the Carson Valley, thank you very much for your sponsorship and helping us keep this program going. You have been obviously an important part of our journey, and if you have plans and you're thinking about that, let's just start with Carson Valley. When is the best time to come see the Carson Valley? Right? A couple of events I wanted to tell you about real quick, and we'll start this off of the year, and we'll just kind of use them as a category. In February, we have an event called Eagles and Ags here that's going to be highlighted in our January edition. We're part of the fly zone. There's a term for it, but it's the fly zone of the migratory birds area. So Mono Lake and Lake Almanor being in between, and we got this bird functions. One of the big things that happens here every winter is the bald eagles and gold eagles and other birds of prey come into the valley for calving season. It means that we're having all the little baby cows running around and stuff. The eagles come in for the disgusting thing of afterbirth and animals that don't make it, etc. But it's kind of a big feeding zone for them, and they're already here. I was just saw a bald eagle. There's about started messing around behind our place last year. I caught some great pictures of him. He's back this year in the same set of trees, so it's kind of his territory, I guess. It's kind of interesting. I have a long-term friend here in town who didn't know we had bald eagles in the area. He's lived here all his life. He sees the golden eagles all the time. So I've had to show him the fact that the bald eagles are here. And it's an interesting fact is that golden eagles will actually beat up the bald eagles, right? So it's kind of territorial battlegrounds. But in this time of year, they all kind of come in, feed up and get as fat as they can in the wintertime before they head back in the trees. And I guess buddy of mine was on the East Walker, not East Walker River. I'm sorry, East Carson River, up out of Markleyville here about a week ago, and has pictures of them all over the trees up there too. So they're all the fish in the river up there. So they're all close. It is that time of year, and the Eagles and Ags is a great event to come into town. They have dances and cowboy stuff, and tours and all kinds of things to celebrate the Eagles and Ags. In May last year, we started up the hot air balloons for Hope event that happens at our park. Got to go up in a hot air balloon. You'll see a video of that here later in the show. It's a great event and one that we hope to continue to expand here in the Carson Valley. Carson Valley is known for its skies. We have our home base to some of the best glider skies in the world. Top two or three gliding locations in the world for professional world record gliders. So our skies are known for their lift, and the air currents are just great for that kind of traffic. If you ever flown a plane in over the Carson Valley into Reno and felt the turbulence, you know what I'm talking about. There's lots of lift coming in the valley here. It's pretty turbulent riding those big old airplanes coming through. So that's in May. June, we have our annual Carson Valley Days. That's our local thing, but it's a fun, if you want to come to mountain community, festival, carnivals at the park, food, events all over town. Carson Valley Days is a fantastic event here in the summertime. So in the fall, we usually have an air show that moved to Reno. So fall, I'm going to forget some events here at Carson Valley. I'm apologize. I know we have Topaz Lake Fishing Derby in April kicks off. And Hot Dogs Nights comes right through here, rolls right through here in the August, September time with the bikes and street vibrations and stuff. We're also a great place just to have fall colors in the fall season. And then we have a lot of family friendly festivals and events, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all that stuff. And we actually shut down Highway 395 twice a year for festivals, which is I think pretty cool. So thank you, Carson Valley. So all right, so let's do this. Let's jump into our January in review and talk about our highlights for 2024, and then give you our tips for our guide for the next year. Okay, so in January 2024, one of the things that we do in January every year is we do an annual New Year's Day event. Last year, my buddy Tom, there he is in that picture, asked me if I would take him back to Calaveras Big Tree State Park. He'd never actually been to that park, but he hadn't seen the redwoods since he was a little kid. And so January 1st last year, we drove over. Snow wasn't that bad last January. So, Calaveras area, and this is up on Ebbets Pass there, some scenery. Beautiful area to drive to. We had a great trip. It was some of the funniest drive time we've ever had with buddies, for I don't know, we've been doing hiking now for 8 years together, but we laughed all day. The one little town right here, this Railroad Flats, didn't know it existed. Sorry, these videos are just going to run. I don't know how to really stop them and talk too much about them. The fun little back road drive, and I love to do that, explore around. If you ever been to Calaveras, the Big Tree State Park, it's always great to go. It's probably better in the spring when the dogwoods are blooming, but it's a lot of fun to be there. Now we couldn't go back to the back grove right here, so we hiked up to this viewpoint so we could see that, but we missed the grove. It's just a great experience in January. But it really brought up to us, okay, what does that mean for, the best things to do in January in this year? I'm sorry, I'm going to read my notes here. I had a little scroller here with media and it's gone. So that's must be my screen here. So this January, like New Year's Day this year, we're going up to Lassen Volcanic National Park. It's one of my favorite places to snowshoe. I've said that on the show before. I haven't been for years. I love to get out and go snowshoeing on New Year's Day. You always have a day off. It's a great time to be in the mountains. Lassen is one of my favorites. I know that there's arguments whether it's part of the Sierra or not. It's part of our Sierra Reach. It's right there in our neighborhood. Plumas County is one of our other big sponsors. We love going up to Plumas County and seeing all the things. But Lassen Volcanic National Park is just an absolute exquisite place to play in the snow. I know backcountry skiers that rave about Lassen Volcanic National Park being just this great hideaway to go, capture the backcountry. And as a snowshoer, I tell you, it's pretty cool to snowshoe in an old volcano. So that's what we'll be doing in January. I always tell friends to look at Lassen. If they're into winter driving, there's a big, huge sled hill up their families, and if you want to drive up, and bring your sleds, there's right outside um, the opening guest center. There's a big old sled hill. They sled in all day long. Obviously, snowmobiles would be a real big thing in the top Lake Tahoe Basin area, Mammoth area, snowmobiling, cross country skiing, and of course, I'm not throwing shade on the ski resorts. Palisades, Heavenly, Mammoth, Bear Valley, all those ski resorts. June Mountain will open up. Um, they're going to have phenomenal skiing, right? We should have, as long as we have great snow in the Sierra, those are obviously the first choice for most outdoor people. I just happen to be a person that slows down a little bit in the wintertime. I like getting out and doing a little slower. So snowshoeing's my thing. Did my first snowmobile ride in the Sierra last week, doing it at bigrentals.com. They're friends of mine. I'm going to give them a shout out here. They're a brand new tour company in the Lake Tahoe Basin area doing tours in Blue Lakes and Bridgeport. So look at them doing it at bigrentals.com. Shout out to them again. Um, it's also, this is a great time in January to camp in Death Valley, to visit Death Valley and camp out of the heat. I think visiting Death Valley between November and February is the best time to go to Death Valley. The days are shorter, and so you get, maybe you can't explore as long, but the nights are so beautiful, and it's a little colder, but it's not hot. You're not dying of heat exhaustion. So Death Valley would definitely be on my list for January have to do's. And then as far as destination, like again, we're here in the Carson Valley, so I like Carson Valley, for example, wintertime because the snow stays most in the mountains. I can be down the valley and hike in dirt and stuff. But if I was going to say, okay, I'm coming from the Bay Area and I'm coming to the mountains, okay, and I don't want to ski, right? You can't go wrong with Mammoth and Lake Tahoe, obviously, because you can do everything there. You can snowmobile, you can snowshoe, you can cross country ski, all those locations. Hidden gem, okay, Gray Eagle, California. Gray Eagle, California. It's based in Plumas County. I know they're my sponsors, but I'm telling you, this is a place where you can rent a cabin. You can get an Airbnb or VRBO. You can stay at a resort like there's several big resorts there in the region, but the Lakes Basin right outside of Gray Eagle is really a hidden gem of winter recreation. You got that, and you get the Yuba River winter recreation area on the south side of that area, on the Yuba Pass area. The entire region is blanketed with beautiful snow. Several of the lakes up there freeze over, and if they don't freeze over, they get this most beautiful blue water against the big, alpine, granite peaks, kind of rough peaks. And it's a really interesting area because there is a lot of granite with volcano in the area. So that's kind of, as you get north of Tahoe, that's what you experience, right? You get some volcanic rock, some granite rock. It's kind of this combination. You got a combination of pine trees, sugar pines, oak trees. It's kind of elevation difference there. Lots of water in the area. So that's one of my hidden gems for January. I love to go up there around the Great Eagle area, hit the Lakes Basin, and then obviously Hope Valley for us. Hope Valley and Alpine County um, is my playground. That's just where I go the most in the wintertime. It is 20 minutes from my house, and I am snowshoeing all over the place. Matter of fact, January and February are my favorite thing to do with Tom and friends of mine is moonlight snowshoeing in Hope Valley. You can go moonlight snowshoeing anywhere there's open space. Understand that, right? There's this awesome feature about Hope Valley, these huge, huge meadows that let you spread out. So no one's out there anyways at moonlight, but you can hike for 2 miles on snowshoes the entire time, have complete visibility, and then the mountains around you surround you and glow from the moon. So it's just a fantastic experience to be on these mountains in January. So that would be my January suggestions. Look them up for January. I have some more snow stuff coming up here in February, so I'll save a few for that. So let's take a look at our February highlights and do a little bit of a transition switch here to February, which is all kind of that seasonal stuff for the season. So here's a picture right here of snowshoeing right there in Hope Valley. Um, Last year we did a couple trips, so I had to cross over the mountains, and this is kind of your experience. If you're going to 80, you're going to see Donner and North Star Ski Resort. And I'm going to stop. Let me see the stop here. I want to tell you about this location right here. This is January. This is February of last year. Highway 4 out of Markleeville on the west side here, or the east side. I'm sorry, east side. They've now made Highway 4 accessible most of the winter all the way back into Silver Creek, and they've made a snowmobile park back there so the snowmobilers can take off. It's a beautiful place to snowshoe and cross country ski. Now, it's about the first mile. You have to walk on the road because the river's too close and it's steep on both sides. So it's not the most romantic, fluffy snow hike, if you will, from that standpoint. But you get back past these trees and it climbs up into the beginning of Ebbett's Pass, if you will, and it's really a stunning area with river wildlife in the area. The river carves through the snow and it's buried in some areas and uncarved in other areas. You can walk through the trees once you get again past this bend here, and climb up all the way into the waterfalls and everything. So really a highlight area for me in February when there's plenty of snow. I get going in that section quite often. I really love it out there, and I haven't snowmobiled out there, but we're obviously taking a look at that. So this is just me and my son last year. There's an old miner's cabin out there. If you've ever cut a Christmas tree, we cut Christmas trees in the area. You know about the miners' cabin. So here's Carson Valley. Last year was the World Cup event at Palisades. Um, I really got to get better at stopping these videos. It was World Cup at Palisades, and that was a great event. I love the ski community. I'm not a skier, but I've said this over and over and over again. They know how to have the most fun, right? If you're a skier out there, you know what I'm talking about. They know how to throw a party on the mountain and celebrate the snow and just that outdoor adventure life. So they had this great event up at Palisades. I know North Star and Mammoth, they have events too. I just happened to be at this one. Love going up to Palisades in the wintertime and take photos and catch their events. So a lot of fun. That was last February. Then we got a little dry. We were pretty dry in the Eastern Sierra last year, all the way up until almost the end of February. So here's a hike right next behind my house with my dog, just up seeing the rocks in the Carson Valley and Carson City above us. Rivers flowing, so it's a very pretty area. Uh, I had to do some travel to Pittsburgh last year in February. Um, and so February, obviously, you start to think about Valentine's Day. You start to get excited about basketball season coming up for you basketball guys. Ski season is rocking by now. February is usually like, that's powder hound, deep, deep snow. All the rocks are buried, and the mountains are kind of swinging it. They're full run most weekends. They also have some great tubing runs here in Sierra. So you got to look at those. So if I was going to start making recommendations of people coming from the valley, again, they're coming to the Sierra in February, here's a couple highlights for us. These are things that we do. Okay. You can't miss Chickadee Ridge in North Lake Tahoe, right? If you like doing princess things, take your girl to Chickadee Ridge, go snowshoe in, bring your bird seed, and have them feed the birds right out of your hands. It's something that has been going on here for generations. Uh, can't hurt the birds doing it anymore. It's become a tourist thing, I guess, maybe a little bit, but there's a lot of people up there. You just kind of walk around and ski around until you find the birds and feed them. It's great. It's kind of romantic. It's kind of fun. I've taken kids up there, families up there. The big thing is you snowshoe or cross country skiing out to Inspiration Point, which looks over Lake Tahoe, and that's up out Tahoe Meadows. They call it Chickadee Ridge. Look up online. There's lots of stories. We have them on Sierra Rick Magazine too. That's probably number one highlight for February. If you're into just fun events, like let's go have a party on the mountain events, don't miss the longboard races um, up out of Gray Eagle. I guess it's the second time I'm talking about Gray Eagle today. The longboard races, there's a Johnsonville Old Ski Resort. They have them the third Sunday of every month, January, February, March. And last year I got to go up there. What a blast. There was hundreds of people walking around, kids, dogs, just a great mountain time. And these guys are on these 20-foot long wooden skis racing down the slope all day long, like tournament style, guys and girls. You can just sign up that day. If you want to go up there and try it and make a fool of yourself, you can do that. There's obviously people who know what they're doing. They carry these big old sticks behind them for brakes, and it's a great event. Don't miss it. Go look them up. It's called the Longboard Races. I think if you just put Longboard Races Sierra, they'd be the only ones that pop up. Used to be an old ski resort up there. I understand they want to put a rope tow back up there and get some activity, so they're working on the mountain up there. Um, and then, obviously February, if you are a skier, heading to Mammoth or up to Palisades or Heavenly or Kirkwood, you enjoy yourself. I mean, that is the place to be, right? If you're looking for a romantic place maybe to stay, um, you know, they're not a sponsor of mine, but I'm gonna shout them out anyways. It's now called Desolation Lodge, up out of in Alpine County on 88. I think they're actually owned maybe by Desolation Hotel. It's in South Lake Tahoe, but they have cabins. If you've ever driven 88, it used to be called Sorensen's. It used to be a old fishing lodge place. Great place. My kids stayed there for the honeymoon. Very romantic place. That would be a place to look at for, February stays if you were in, looking something a little different. Again, great snowshoeing, cross country skiing in Hope Valley, right up the road. So kind of unlimited access to recreation there. So, all right, if we move into March of 2024, our highlights. Oh, I got some sound on this one. Hold on, guys. I don't even know how to turn the sound down. Any volume on that? Sorry about that. Hard to get all the sound off of these. All right, so this is snowshoeing nirvana to me. I love getting up and going snowshoeing all the way into March. March is going to have the best snow. Last year we did the longboard races at the end of March, so this is kind of some pictures for the longboard races here. Look at those stilts that are on there. This gal knew what she was doing. These guys going down. There was a lot of wipeouts, so if you want to see some good wipeouts, this guy crushed it. Obviously, this is Jameson Creek that runs there, and this is Lake Davis. Lake Davis uses ice fishing in March. No ice fishing in March. Let me go back to that real quick and talk about Lake Davis real quick here. Let's see if I can. I don't know how to set this up. Okay, so Lake Davis. Let's talk about Lake Davis real quick. Uh, Great place to go in March. Right up here, if you'll see the tree on the peninsula on the right hand side, it looks a little kind of like dead scrag. That is a bald eagle's nest. They nest there. It's a nesting pair. You can see them right from the road. If you have some binoculars, you can actually a trail that walks right up below their nest. Lake Davis usually would have ice fishing in March, so it warmed up. The weeks I was up there was too warm, so it's already thawing the lake by the third Sunday of March. But February would have been a great time to be ice fishing in Lake Davis. They have a tournament up there, usually about that time of year too. So take a look at Lake Davis. Also, great. This is a great summer lake. We really like Lake Davis. So there's my review here of the things we covered. March is one of the times I really start diving into what am I going to do for backpacking. And I've already got my permit. So usually permits for my backpacking season are kind of reserved in January and February is when I'll go into reservations.com and I'll reserve my backpacking destination. I'm going to talk about some of those backpacking destinations coming up here in the show. But that's kind of what we do in March. I also towards the end of March start to crave dirt. Here's what I mean by that: is that after a winter of snowshoeing and getting out, so I crave more distance. I want to get on the dirt. I want to climb a mountain or get up a river. And so coming back to the east and west side, the Carson Valley is a great place for dirt. Love going out on the East Walker River, just north of Bridgeport. Great place to get out in the desert with the car and drive some dirt roads and hike up some mountains and find some old relics. Um, we love Carson City. Has a ton of trails here on the east side as well. Reno as well has trails. And a lot of those trails in March will start to become dirt, and get out on your mountain bikes, on the hiking trails, and you can go find plenty of dirt on the west side. Over in Sonora, they have a trail right there in town. I'm gonna forget what it's called. I call it the Bigfoot Trail, but it's not called that. It's called, oh shoot, I'm gonna forget right now. But there's some trails right there in Sonora I've been on. You can also usually in March probably get down to Hetch Hetchy in Yosemite, which is probably a great spring waterfall early season hike as the valley starts to turn to. And obviously Yosemite Valley is going to start popping as well. Probably a little early for wildflowers on the east side, but on the west side, again, just south of Sonora, you're going to find a couple state parks that have beautiful wildflowers along the lakes there. You also find them in the North Sierra. There's quite a bit of wildflower growth as well. So that would be kind of some of the things. A couple other snowshoe highlight places I like to go towards the late season. Lundy Canyon in Mono County is a great place to snowshoe. It's a great fall hiking spot too. I'll bring it up a little later, but snowshoeing in spring is a beautiful thing. Also, find snowshoeing in Twin Lakes is a lot of fun. You can get there and go through the campground and start heading up to Barney Lake. It's a long snowshoe through there, and if the snow is right, it's quite fun. If it gets deep and kind of crappy with the river and stuff, it might get a little harder. But it's a really pretty area to go in and snowshoe. The wind blows through there a little bit, so you kind of dealing with wind most days in there. But Lundy Canyon, a lot of times we'll get there and not really experience that wind as bad, which is really kind of weird because it's really kind of a steep and daunting canyon. But that's a really neat place. Lundy Canyon is also a great place to see like beaver activity in the wintertime, see them slide down the hills and stuff. So um, just we get one of those locations that we really enjoy. March is one of those seasons where you'll find us when we're talking here. We're kind of itching for ski season to be over and for us to get on the trails. But we understand the skiers are begging for more snow. Like, let's get some more. And we usually get dumped on the snow in March. We could have a really dry January, February, and then March is going to be like slam. And we're going to get hundreds of inches of snow in March. So it's one of those times of year you travel to the mountains, you ski, you play in the snow, you take advantage of every last moment. And it's kind of funny. It's one of those battles I have internally because I want more snow, right? Every year, just give me more snow, give me more snow, give me more snow, because I want the rivers and lakes to be plumb full in July. And that's where our snow comes from, is March and April. So that would be my suggestions for March travel. Get up to the mountains, get up to your resorts, and go explore. If you're looking for dirt, look for the Carson Valley, Carson City, or go down south to like Kernville. The river's probably a little high in Kernville, so I'm not sure if that's a great suggestion there. But look for places where the snow is receding up the mountains fast enough. And so this whole eastern Sierra, maybe besides Mammoth, maybe Bishop area, and getting down into the Alabama Hills area. That's probably a really great place in March. Okay. Um, all right. So let's take a look at April last year, April 2024. Last year, this was a time of year. This is our Eastern Sierra on the Walker. The snow came in late, so the mountains were packed, and so we went searching for dirt. So this is a trip that we took down into Mono County, and let me back up there just a little bit and hit that again. Mono County, 395, that entire region down there is a great place to go explore. That Walker River between Levine up to Carson Valley, basically that whole roadside follows the Walker River water system. You can go out in the desert and explore ghost towns and old relics. What we had seen last year was we found Fletcher. That's about 10 miles out on a dirt road that's well maintained. It was his old stop for the Pony Express. A little community was out here, back in the 80s. One of these places, right? I guess 1918, the post office was removed, so they used to have a little post stop there. Found that it's kind of great thing experience late in April. Obviously, waterfalls are a big deal starting in April. If you're in a Lake Tahoe basin, all the waterfalls are going to be accessible probably in April as the snow is receded a little bit out of town. So you get those early things. Golfing season around the Carson Valley starts up. I want to stop here real quick. Let me stop real quick here and talk about this event last year. So let me finish with waterfalls. So waterfalls are great, and one of our favorite things to do is start going waterfall chasing outside of Yosemite. Now Yosemite is fantastic, but I'll usually say that's the end of April, May. But if you want to go waterfall chasing in the east side, you've got June Lake, Horsetail Falls will start to pop, even though there'll be still snow and you may not have June Lake Loop all the way opened yet. Oops, sorry, my cat just came in and knocked over his garbage can. And then you've got in the Tahoe area, Horsetail Falls. If you can get back to it, the rocks may be a little slippery at that time, but Horsetail Falls will be exploding. You can see from the Highway 50. And then you've just got all these weather waterfalls in the Lake Tahoe Basin. If you're looking for them, look on Sierra Rec Magazine. We have a whole list of waterfalls. Go waterfall chasing in April. So let me talk about this event. So a couple years ago in Markleeville, we had a giant fire run through here. It covered two highway systems, closed down Markleeville, almost burnt the whole town down, took out this whole recreation zone and all the trees, right? Really devastating. They're doing a great job of cleaning it up. But one of the things we got to do this last April was go out with the crews and plant trees around this lake basin area, just outside of Turtle Rock State Park, I think. Um, and it was really quite fun. I've never actually done that before. Planted a couple thousand trees that day. They invite people to come back and water them and keep them going. Meet some of their volunteers. Really kind of a cool event. I look forward a couple of years going back up to the lake and seeing how many of those trees survived. We'll hike back to this little lake that's back there, and then caught some eagles on the way back in the Carson Valley too. So it was really kind of a fun day that we had in April. Um, we also took a trip to Sierra Pines Resort up in off the Yuba Pass. They were sponsors of ours last year. Great little couple that bought the resort and kept all the traditions there. The fishing pond was open. My mom and dad came to town. We enjoyed the Yuba River. My dad and I used to gold mine the Yuba River back in the day when you could dredge it. Now we're just enjoy the scenery. Did some hiking. Went up on Lakes Basin and enjoyed Sardine Lake in the snow, which is gorgeous. The waterfalls off of the lake there were good. Here's Sardine Lake. If you've never been to Sardine Lake, put this one on your bucket list. Okay, this is up off of the Lakes Basin Highway. It's between Yuba Pass and Gray Eagle, and this is actually in I believe Sierra County. And this is a stunning lake. Most people know it from the lookout station. It's way up on top of that peak right there. There's a second lake right above that boulder at the end of this picture here, the big old black boulder right in the middle. There's a lake right there as well. So you can hike up a road on the north side of the lake and go right up to that lake as well. On this trip, that lake up there was completely frozen. This one down here is thawed, and they were just moving in for the weekend. So this is a beautiful location. I've been there in the summertime and the fall time to hike this as well. This was my favorite visit. I know I still had to deal with snow and I couldn't go as far, but it was definitely my favorite visit. Just a different time of year there. Pretty cool thing to do. So put that on your bucket list if you want to do April, May, Sardine Lake. If you want to get on the water, obviously you might want to little bit later because it's going to be a little cold. And then yeah, we ran by Davis Lake again. I want to show my parents did Davis Lake on that trip. So April last year was a lot of fun for us. We were getting ready to put our summer edition out in May, so we were working a lot on backpacking and hiking trips that way. One of the other things we did in April last year is we went to Bassy Falls. That's on the west side. And so that's El Dorado County, El Dorado National Forest. You come up out of Folsom and you head up into the Loon Lake Basin. That's where Bassy Falls is at. It's a great spring hike. It's about a 2 mile dirt trail. Lots of people up there. It's maybe 300 feet of elevation change up to the bottom of the falls from parking area, and then another couple hundred feet to the top of the falls, which we did last year. Been to Bassy Falls a couple times. It's a great place, great big boulder crashing waterfall that has lots of granite to lay out on with the streams coming through in the spring and summertime. So it's a great thing. The other thing that happens obviously in April's fishing season opens, right? So Mammoth Lakes, June Lakes Loop, Topaz Lake is open. Um, um, all the lakes on the Eastern Sierra. That's the big craze, right? Convict Lake. I'm gonna forget one. They all open up. It's big fishing craze. One of our plans this year is we're going to go down with a group of guys and enjoy opening weekend down on the June Lakes Basin. So we're looking forward to that. But fishing season is obviously a big deal here in the Sierra. The other thing that's really a lot of fun is you get all the pond skims at the ski resorts. It's end of season. Even if they have 100 inches of snow, most of the resorts have to shut down like April 15th because of their permit with the National Forest Service. And the only a handful of resorts actually are able to stay open as long as snow is going there. So they'll do their pond skim events, their bikini skiing events, and all the different things they do in spring are fun on the mountain. So if you're a skier, that's kind of your season. It's probably the end of snowmobile season. I'm not sure how much snow is still on the roads to get up things like Bridgeport and everything like that. So kind of the end of the season there. So all right, so that takes us to April. Before we move on to May, I want to do a real quick shout out here because one of the things we did this year And again, I'll put these points down below, and please share your thoughts on any of this stuff. Be glad to get back to you if you have questions at all. But we had some great guests in 2024, and our podcast was something we launched, and it's a new creative outlet for me. I'm kind of enjoying it. Obviously, I can talk and ramble on for a while, so I want to make sure I talk about some of our guests in 2024, and just want to real quick, say thanks to everyone who trusted us and came on and told a story. We had Amanda and Greg on for Hot Air Hope from Carson Valley this year. Mark Lassane from the Bass Angler Magazine was one of our first guests. Talk about the BAM tour this year. We had lots of BAM tour guests, including Mark up in Lake Almanor, and we had Colby Pearson, who won the first BAM Trail event, and then we had Luke Johns, who was actually the winner of the entire um, tournament this year. So that was pretty cool. Uh, Lakes of Yosemite, Mike joined us for a show to talk about some of his favorite backpacking and shared some where update on um, his um, mission to photograph every named lake in Yosemite. He's got one left. Just update on that. He'll finish it this spring, hopefully. We've talked to a couple of authors. Whitney wrote a book about hiking from Whitney to Death Valley's lowest point. So from the highest point to lowest point, which was something her dad did, and that was a great interview. We really enjoyed that. We spoke with Captain Brian up in Lake Almer. We talked some trout fishing on his boat. That was really cool. He actually called in from his boat, which was a neat experience. Thank you, Captain Brian. I hope to get there and go fishing with you. Um, Wesley Shyrock is a Instagram friend of mine, if you will. He's a photographer and videographer down south and has a great experience of backpacking with his little kids. He came on and shared some tips on Death Valley and where to go camping on the dunes and some of the ways of hiking with little kids and how to get them involved. I met Richard and Elvis, who were this great guys I met on YouTube. Actually, they're telling the story of William Brewer and all of his uh, legacy hikes and stuff that he left in journals for his first survey. He was part of the survey crew that first did the first surveys of the Sierra, and Richard and Elvis were a blast to talk to. We talked to several, government agencies, the Kern River Conservancy. We had Lake Tahoe Transit on last week. Colin at Clean Up the Lake. Clean Up the Lake's been doing a great job. They actually made it down to Mammoth this year. My buddy Tom came on the show, which we enjoyed a lot, and that's actually one of our most viewed shows of the year. So people really like Tom, obviously. Patrick at Palisades. Anyways, a shout out to a lot of you guys. Seth at Aspen Meadows. You guys were actually my most watched podcast of the year. Horse community, man. I got to do more horse stuff. I can see it. Aspen Meadows horse group. Seth was talking about riding, taking horseback rides and fishing trips down in immigrant wilderness, and so we're gonna get some more of that on this year. And Paul Wagner wrote a book called Backpack of the Sierra. He was one of our guests this year too. So we want to thank our guests here who joined us. We couldn't do the show without people trusting us with their story. And so we want to now turn that as a little bit of a promo to you. If you're watching this show, wherever you're at, what time of year, if you are a Sierra explorer, if you like to get out and do things different in the Sierra, have a family tradition you like to share, we want to tell your story. That's my theme for 2025. Tell your story of the Sierra, and I want to be part of that. Give me a shout out. Hook me up on DM. Look at us on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. Leave me a comment. Reach out to me. I'd love to hear your story and tell your story in the Sierra in 2025. So as we continue to move forward here, we want to bring your voice to the program as well. Okay, that's that. Let's jump back into our review real quick so we can get through this, and get into really kind of the highlight seasons, right? So I think we did May. We're going to jump into June here. So in June, boy, I had a lot of fun in June. This is where that season became where I just got done doing this massive fishing event in Lake Almore in Plumas County. They had all the bass fishermen in the first week of June, and we went for several days. I hiked in Last Volcanic National Park. I kind of enjoyed the logger jamboree there in Chester, California, and then we fished for 3 days with these bass fishermen that just are crazy talented at catching bass on boats, up early in the morning for sunrise, staying late till sunset. just a fun event. I had promised my buddy Tom that I would take him to Sequoia National Park. That was one of the things. He hasn't been there since a little kid. He's a single guy. He doesn't like traveling by himself. So he's been hiking with me for 8 almost 10 years now, and I was like, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. So I said, but one condition: if we're gonna go for several days, and then we're going to go backpacking to Sequoia, also Kings Canyon, because I've never been able to do that. So in June, that's what we did. We made plans early in the year to spend 2 days as tourists, walking around, seeing the views. It's my first view of the Kings River, waterfalls, Kings Canyon National Park. What a great park! I can't wait to go back. There's so much you can explore there. It is really quite fascinating. This area here obviously reminds me a lot of Yosemite. We saw Sequoia in Mona Rock, and the three of us hiked the meadows and the big trees for a day, saw the waterfalls, really had a hoot. Okay, but after that we hooked up our backpacks and we went on an incredible adventure. Right, we hiked up 20, a little over 2,000 feet the first day, into through this meadow, up over this ridge to a place called Twin Lakes. And Twin Lakes here at sunset, this is off our camp here. It's a very popular place. It's rather easy to get to. A lot of people come up for the weekends. It's got a crazy wilderness pit toilet up there. Just telling you, it's an experience. Beautiful place, but this, believe it or not, this is the low light of of visual experiences that we saw the whole trip. Okay, we were tired, but this is beautiful, right? This is the low light. After that, we get here. You climb up over Silliman Pass. You get this amazing view of the Sierra Nevada, and I can't name all these peaks for you here, but this is where the John Muir Trail goes through way back there, and you see on all the hiking things. So this is your view on top of Silliman Pass. And then you come down off Silliman Pass. There's these huge granite bowls. There's lakes everywhere. We were climbing peaks and seeing lakes down below. And you come to Ranger Lake. Ranger Lake is an extremely popular backpacking destination. It's up over Silliman Pass. You come down to Ranger Lake. If we hadn't have other plans, this is where I would have stayed at. It is a gorgeous lake, clean, nice swimming water. I was actually quite surprised how much warmer it was in these lakes over here than it is like Lake Tahoe. Beautiful view, lots of big trees, meadows in the area. There's another lake within about a mile of here. It's real easy to get over to. So Ranger Lake was great. That's where most people stop. I had my sights set on this William Brewer trip that took me out a little bit further to Lost Lake, and this is Lost Lake. This was an absolutely stunning location. National Park actually has me not to share too much about it, but I'm going to share in the show because I just don't have the big audience. But it is an absolute stunning area. Fun fact: William Brewer and his party stayed here, and they caused a campfire here. It's a very pristine wilderness area. They only allow 3 visitors. They have 3 camp spots. You have to stay in the camp spots. So 3 camp people at a time at the lake. If they're doing restoration to a stream on one side, we didn't get to see that material, but over on the west side of this lake. And this is just a stunning location. I'm glad I went there. We had one of the quietest nights in the wilderness I'd experienced to this point. Um, and we really enjoyed our stay at Lost Lake. It was really quite an experience. I think at that point we're about 9 miles back into the wilderness, and before we head back to the lodge and come back and enjoy the Sierra. So June was really a cool month for me last year, and we really put a lot of effort in that. I originally planned a loop. Our party wasn't quite fit enough to really quite the loop safely, so we just did Outback and did Lost Lake and then turned around instead of continuing forward. But if you look at Silliman Pass, you can find it on our website. There's lots of places reviews for Silliman Pass hikes. That's kind of that region. Highly recommend it in the Sequoia Kings Canyon National Park area for someone who's not going real deep, right? You can obviously do Rays Lake Loop in Sequoia. You got the High Sierra Trail there in Sequoia. Alta things, Alta Peak. A very popular place. So there's several other backpacking things, but that's just kind of a stay kind of local. You actually cross in the Ginny Lakes Wilderness there, and but on both parks, so Sequoia on one side, Kings Canyon on the other side of the ridge. So you kind of get a best of 3 worlds, if you will, in that region in June. So obviously June is the premier hiking season for us. That's what we would consider the hiking start of the world. I know the hardcores that are backpacking in Eastern Sierra will sometimes will start as early as May. They'll go into the wilderness, and we've done some wilderness stuff earlier, but I like the Chase waterfalls. My backpacking and hiking season really started in June. In June, you're looking Desolation Wilderness, Hoover Wilderness. Now, mosquitoes are going to be horrible in June, but these two locations are easy to get into. They usually have easy access early in the year. So those two wildernesses are nice. Immigrant Wilderness on the west side probably has some availability as well. So recommend those. You're probably not going to get too far in, well, I'll take it back. Carson Iceberg Wilderness, probably get into Makalume. I said that wrong every time, so forgive me. It's Maka, I actually call Makalume Wilderness in Central Sierra, a great place. And then probably down south, they're probably starting to climb into the John Muir Wilderness as well. But you're probably getting into a lot of snow patches still early June. So consider that. Now, the scenic passes will start to open in June. And as soon as they open, I hit the scenic routes. Sonora Pass last year, we did Sonora Pass in June, and we actually might have been the first week of July. Climbed over Sonora Pass, stopped and took pictures of waterfalls and snow the whole trip. Ended up at Pinecrest Lake and hiked back into the waterfall there at Cleo's Bath. And did a nice cold plunge. Remember, that might have been July 4th, so that might be my next video on that. But these are all things that you can do in June, right? You can look at the wilderness areas; they start to open up. These scenic routes start to open up and get you access. But you're going to deal with is two things: you're going to deal with mosquitoes, and you're going to deal with snowpack, which means wet feet if you're out exploring. But beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. The animals are starting to wake up. Maybe some wildlife that you're starting to see on the trails in June. Wildflowers, depending on your area. So let me tell you what I'm talking about. So you would think June would be great wildflowers, and sometimes it is, but the weather and the snowpack influence that greatly. So if it's a lighter snowpack year, wildflowers in June, so like in Carson Pass into Woods Lake up to Winnemucca Lake, phenomenal, right? Blue Lakes Highway along the hillsides, phenomenal. Wildflowers, wherever you like wildflowers, that's where you'll go down to June Lake Loop, wildflowers, phenomenal. They're just great wildflower hikes all throughout the Sierra. But if we have a huge snowpack and we don't get into passes, then that's moved into July. So I had wildflowers into August hikes this year that were still in bloom. Matter of fact, our September hike we had wildflowers at some higher lakes because snow really had only been gone for a month. So wildflower season can be extensive, but that bloom season people look for in June, that's a big deal. June, Walker River for fishermen. I in my feeling that's this Miracle Mile opens up, and that's really kind of a huge area. Also, the Carson River becomes a big fishery for the river systems. The Feather River up north becomes a huge fishing area. So these fish are coming alive. You'll see the fly fishermen out there. Um, and if you're a Lake Tahoe person, Emerald Bay. That's the best time of year. It hit Emerald Bay. Probably you got all the waterfalls are booming. You're going to start dealing with crowds, unfortunately, but it's also a great access point to Desolation Wilderness. So, um, my favorite way to get in Desolation Wilderness, to be honest with you, is go all the way to Horsetail Falls and go in that side. But a heck of a climb up the Ropey Lake. If I'm not going to do that, I prefer going in behind Fay Luther and going back into Dix Lake and Susie Lake, back through that trail system. Echo Lake is also extremely fun to go back in. Um, and then the worst parking area for me is Emerald Bay. So, I don't go to Eagle Lake hardly ever. I'll come up a little bit further and go up to Granite Lake and, back in the Velmas occasionally that way. But I'd rather probably go down south. Or I will go all the way north and go up the Meeks Bay and go in through Meeks Bay, which is a great access point. That's a great June hike. I've backpacked in June up there. It's actually less mosquitoes than you think usually up there. So the Meeks Bay up to the lakes routes is another great access point for June backpacking. Um, if you are also looking to wildlife, June's a great time to see wildlife for the first time. I'm always anxious in June because I'm waiting for Tioga Pass to open. Tioga Pass on the east side is by far my highlights. Like that's my Christmas of June is when Tioga opens. Means I have access to Yosemite National Park on the east side, which is one of the things that I crave most in my explorations of the Sierra. And so that's the other thing I'm waiting for is it open early June or is it going to be more close to the 4th of July? And when can I get those on the passes? So scenic passes are obviously something in June that you don't want to miss. You're going to start seeing some community events. Carson Valley Days, like I said, is happening. Um, I don't know. I didn't write down the Western events, but you start to have like the frog jumping in Calaveras. All these little communities have their little tulip festivals and things. So the community festivals are quite big in June. All right, so let's go to jump to July 2024. Hey, it's been an hour. Thanks for sticking around with me. I probably got about 30 more minutes here on the show here. But again, if you're coming in from someplace else, I'll put all the timestamps in after this is done. Here's what we did in July. We got into Yosemite National Park and climbed Mount Hoffman. If you don't know where Mount Hoffman, it's a dead center of the park. It's above May Lake. Let me go back here just a second. It's above May Lake. You get this amazing view of the of the Yosemite National Park, 360 degrees views up there. It is not an easy hike. The middle section is quite torturous, sandy, loose rock climb. At times you feel like your hands are almost ahead of you in the rocks. It's quite extensive coming out. It's really easy to May Lake. First mile out of May Lake's pretty easy, and then it gets really difficult. For about maybe a mile. Maybe probably not even a mile. It's just really hard, and then it kind of mellows out to the top before you have to take a pretty good rock scramble to the top of the peak, which is requires a little bit of like hands. Probably class two, maybe I don't think it's class three. Probably more class two. Boulder climb up to the top. Which the trickiest part of that's coming down. Okay, so just be aware. But Mount Hoffman is really cool. You actually look down on everything from up there. So you're above Clouds Rest. You're above Half Dome. You're looking down on all that really cool thing. My highlight for that trip, besides the view, was I got to go paddle boarding on Tenaya Lake. That was super fun for me. It's something I've always wanted to do. I swim in Tenaya Lake every visit I can. It's kind of a magical water to me. This is as clean and clear as Yosemite in my not Yosemite but Lake Tahoe in my book. It's just a blast, and I love this western side shoreline looking up at the Cathedral Range across the shore. So that was a really a highlight point. And then this was the 4th of July weekend. So I'm going to do a shout out here real quick. Again, not sponsors here, but if you've never experienced 4th of July in Bridgeport, California, you're missing out. I'm telling you. It is like home of the cowboy 4th of July. Not only do they do a great 4th of July show every year in Bridgeport, they have town events all day long. We stopped at Lee Vining at the gas station and had food, and then came up here and parked. There's fireworks from the community going off an hour before the fireworks show. They have a good 30-minute fireworks show from the city. It does a great job. And then there's another hour of fireworks by the community afterwards of people who've gone to Idaho or Wyoming and bought truckloads of these fireworks, spent way too much money, but they put on a heck of a show. And what I mean by cowboy show, there's like firecrackers going off in the street. There's cars driving over little tanks that are blowing. It is quite a hoot, right? And if you've never been to Bridgeport, California, 4th of July, put it on your bucket list. It's one of my can't miss things you do in the Sierra Nevada in celebrating our community. So that was kind of our highlights for July. We did climb up the backside of Genoa and for Lake Tahoe. My son and I enjoyed some time at Caples Lake, which is one of our summer hang a hammock enjoyment places. And then I got to go down and do another really classic, fun experience. I had some gentlemen that, if you're listening to the show, guys, you'll know who you are. I won't call you out here, but have been following me on Sierra Rec for a long time, and they invited me to go backpacking down the Eastern Sierra out of Bishop up to the Chocolate Lakes Basin. And I've never been down there. I'd love to go down there. So I went down the night before and boondocked out of Bishop, and which is something I highly recommend people do. It's right, it's allowed. It's in the desert. There's all kinds of spots out there. Here's my camp spot that night, and then I got up early the next morning and drove out to the lakes and stuff outside of Bishop. Um, and this is North Lake, I believe. Here, we took up out South Lake here, which might be in the next picture, and then we hiked up in the Chocolate Basin. This is the road up there. In fact, and before my guests got there, see, I'm gonna tell the story a little bit awkward. I actually took a drive. I went down and took those pictures, and then I took off and went up to the ancient trees up in the White Mountains up behind Bishop, which I'd never been to either. That was really quite the experience if you've never done that. You're over 10,000 feet here in the mountains. They'll walk around these ancient, 1,000-year-old trees up there. And, great place to take photography. It's a great, I'd say early summer hike, and the midsummer is probably pretty hot. I was there early in the morning, so it wasn't too bad up there. Before I headed back to South Lake, where we got to go start backpacking, and we went up South Lake here. Um, can't remember what our elevation was. It was over 10,000 feet. We got over up in there, the John Muir Wilderness. There's four of us. Here's where we stayed at below the Chocolate Lakes. A great evening. These guys are all fishermen, so they're catching fish at Long Lake next day. And Raoul Lake, this was my favorite spot. This is Raoul Lake that we did the little loop and went swimming here. Very, very cold, but beautiful location. And this is just below Bishop Pass. So Bishop Pass is over in this lower section. You really can't see past the mountain there, but the lower section there, and we're a couple miles from that down this loop. And this was my sunrise picture. The morning I left, I had to get up early and get back to work, so I hiked down and caught this sunrise of South Lake there before I left town. And then I stopped at Convict Lake to do some paddleboarding and Mammoth Lake, and enjoyed the end of July there. That was part of my July experience. So what is my itinerary? Best things to do in July in the Sierra? You just name it. Well, how can you go wrong, right? You got camping seasons open. Yosemite's at full bore in July, so backpacking. You can climb all the peaks. Clouds Rest, Tallac, Half Dome's open by then. Um, Lake Tahoe festivals are starting. The Shakespeare Festival starting. They got boating going on. Lake Albanor's, the fishing and the boating is going crazy up there. So really, how could you go wrong? Bass Lake. Um, Here's what we do in July. We hike. We just hike all the time. The Desolation is really popular. Hoover Wilderness is very popular. Carson Iceberg Wilderness is maybe my place where I go for the most solitude, and it's a beautiful wilderness area just outside of Alpine County. A couple different access points into it. The Makalume Wilderness is very popular. It's super easy to get into, so lots of backpacking in there. I have not done anything in the Immigrant Wilderness to speak of to this date, so I won't try to tell you I didn't know that one. Obviously, Ansel Adams and John Muir are just hopping by now. So you had to get your permits for this time of year back in January. Remember, if you're looking right now, you're listening to the show today or this month, backpacking and permit season for early June is this week, right? So June 8th, I think, is this week. So if you want early backpacking wilderness permits information, you need to be here in end of December, first week of January. You need to be on your permits. I'll be getting permits for July, August, September in the next couple of weeks. We're putting in for a lottery for that, and so you got to be looking at this area early for that. Even Desolation Wilderness nowadays, you need to get permits early because the trail quotas they have there will sell out. So you should be planning those type of events for July now. Camping trips, you know, most everything's on reservation.gov nowadays. So take a look at your reservations in December for July. That's just start making plans for that. There's so many different places you can go. If you don't have reservations, here's a couple things to consider: Plumas County and Sierra County, and probably a little bit of Tahoe National Forest has lots of boondocking, lots of different campgrounds available, so a little bit more access maybe up there. Eastern Sierra, it is everything on basically um, the east side of 395 is BLM land, so you can boondock like crazy out there. So lots of different camping, although the weather is going to be a little bit hotter there, with a little bit limited shade in July. If you're coming from the west side, start looking at some of your smaller communities over there. Three Rivers area is a great place to stay. Heading into the south side of Sequoia, for example, you've got some campsites up on the Great Western Divide in the Kern River, Southern Sierra region. Great place to look at. For the El Dorado County, I'd be looking at Loon Lake, Crystal Basin area. There's a lot of different access points up there. The only thing I'd say about that region this year, we've had some unfortunate events with mountain lions in that region. So caution in the area. I'm basically carrying some self defense, I think, over there. And I'm not one of those guys that does that. So it's something to consider. Obviously, Lake Tahoe, Mammoth, and Reno. This is our busy season. People are going to be there in droves for a good reason. It's beautiful. There's lots of things to do. But if you're looking for places to get away and get away from the crowd a little bit, Carson Valley, Carson City, got great places to stay right below the lake. Good ideas to go there. Places like Great Eagle is a little harder to get into in July, so you're going to be careful there. But you go up to Chester, there's St. Bernard Lodge. Summertime up there is a great pun to see below Lassen Volcanic Park. I love St. Bernard Lodge. That's one of the places I stay when I go north. Um, so there's some things to look at for July as we get going as well. So, okay. So let's jump to August real quick here. Keep this thing rolling along today. Again, if you're on the show, I keep seeing it popping in, and I apologize. They don't have a thing here for me to see chat. So I may be doing it wrong, and maybe this was better recorded. I don't know. But August is festival season in the Sierra. I'm going to back up this video real quick here and talk about this for a moment because I had an unfortunate event this last August. My Desolation Wilderness volunteer experience got cut short for the season as I got myself caught in a rainstorm on granite and took a nasty spill right below this point. Hurt my shoulder and elbow pretty bad. It took me a couple months of chiropractic to get myself back in line, but I kind of laid off the hiking and desolation until I was healed up, and so this happens, right? It's one of the things we happen in late July, early August, is we get these surprise thunderstorms that pop through. This is 8 a.m. in the morning, and I wasn't expecting rain that day, so I got stuck in it, made a bad mistake, fell, hurt myself. So that happens. This is above Emerald, just on Emerald Bay, and yeah, what's the name of that lake? I'm going there. Hot Ice Nights. Got to go up to take some photos there, and then I did some paddle boarding back in some lakes. My son and I took a 1 night backpacking trip into the Makalume Wilderness up to Kinney Lakes, which is really quite nice. Maybe the quietest night I've ever had in the wilderness. We literally, after dark, did not hear a stick, did not hear a bird, chipmunk. It was almost scary quiet because you're trying to figure out, okay, what's keeping all the everything, all the sound down there. It was so quiet. Had a great night's sleep. One nighter, just a quick trip. It's 2 mile trip. We had this beautiful sunset, and it's just a great day thing to get away. Again, this is Alpine County up on Ebbets Pass, Highway 4, really awesome. We have some friends that have some sports cars, and so we also went and drove the canyon up in Virginia City and did a little scenic drive in their sports cars. My wife enjoyed that, and then this is when I tried to simulate golf here in the Carson Valley. It started up too. Highland Lakes. This isn't one of our secret hideaways. If you don't know the Sierra very well, stop that right here. This is Highland Lakes. This is up again off Ebbets Pass, Highway 4. It's a dirt road for about 10 miles back, and you get these two twin lakes back there. Got a big old campground. Usually finding great camp spots along the way. Great place to boondock, if you will, and there are actually some paid campgrounds up here too. Uh, Great place to paddleboard, get out. I like taking the dog up there to let her run around the mountain. So it is a cattle area, so just so you know, if you take your dogs, make sure they're friendly to cows because cows got their bells on, walking over the meadows there. So it's a neat place to get up and go. And that was kind of our August because I was planning for a massive September. And so in August, I just did short hikes and kept it close. Some of the things that to do in the Sierra in August, obviously, this is the season for High Sierra Trail, for example, going all the way across. If you want the big adventures, this is the season that you're going to go to Yosemite and get any trip that you want in August. I love backpacking Vogelsang High Camp area. I love backpacking to Young's Lakes, the Grand Canyon, Yosemite. I would have done the Grand Canyon probably in July because it gets a little warm in there. Um, uh, let's see, Kersog Pass is going to be that's going to be hopping in August if it's a permit. People will fill that up, so the JMT area will be nice and full, but lots of great hiking down there. So August is hiking season for in my book. If you ride horses, this would probably be a good horse season. Levitt's Meadows, for example, Aspen Meadows there. If you want to go backpacking, I'm going to do a little shout out here to one of my sponsors last year. Lasting Adventures out of Yosemite does backpacking trips for women and kids, and then they have guided trips throughout the year too. Take a look at them. Great organization. They do wonderful things for kids in the mountains and stuff. But they're one of our partners this last year. We're one of our sponsors. I want to give them a shout out. July, August, September, especially great season to be with them. They do day trips also throughout the year in Yosemite. So again, lastingadventures.com. Take a look at them. And then the other thing to do in August is star photography. You can hike into the Sierra in several locations within a mile of road and get amazing star photography with peaks and water, right? So people, you'll see Yosemite pictures coming up. You'll see pictures out of John Muir Wilderness. You'll see pictures of Lake Tahoe all the time because our skies are phenomenal in Lake Tahoe again. So those are some of the things. Obviously, Hot August Nights rolls into Reno. So Reno, from August and September, that's my favorite time to be in Reno. You've got festivals every weekend. You've got the barbecue festival. You got the Hot Dogs Nights. You got the bikers come in with Street Vibrations. You got the Greek Festival. There's all these different festivals. So Reno, look at Reno in that window. Obviously, they have their balloon races um, in September. So they do their big balloon event um, in September as well. So look at the Reno area. That's a must do for the August season as you look at the Sierra. So okay, let's move on to September. What happened in September? September was iconic for me. This was a dream backpacking trip that I had arranged with my oldest son, and we were going to do a route from Tuwali Meadows to Yosemite Valley that covered about 40 miles. Covered this really well. There's a story on our website. Take a look at it for the itinerary. But let me walk you through it. So this is the hike up to Vogelsang High Camp. Walks through this area as you get up into the high country where this golden grass is cut by this granite path they've chosen through. We chose a route that goes down to Booth Lake. I've camped and backpacked here. It's one of my favorite places to stay the night. Is Booth Lake right here? There's a great little lake with swimmable water. You don't get the best sunset view up here because you're too far down. You can see a little bit of Volgasing Peak, but this is a great little lake to camp at, and you won't have any people there versus the high camp, which is all the people at. So this is just outside the zone, so you can camp here. And but we walked on past Booth Lake today. We were going out to this lake here. Um, I'm gonna call it Echo Lake. That's wrong. What was the name of that lake, Charlie? Yep, I'm gonna go mind blank. Apologize, I didn't even write it down. This is a shallow lake, beautiful meadow. It's a couple miles past Booth Lake, and I apologize. I'm also not mind blank for the name of it. But this is on the route to the Merced High Camp. If you were to hike this region back here, Vogelsang area. We came back next day and we climbed up the Vogelsang Pass. Saw Vogelsang Lake again, and this is the view from the top of Vogelsang Pass. It looks over into Bernice Lake, which is there on the right side if I'm looking at the screen. Left side is the Galveston ice pools, I call them. There's really pretty lakes up there. You're going to drop down over 2,000 feet here off of this ridge into this valley, and then we're going to climb up into Bernice Lake. And then the valley views there at Bernice Lake were pretty phenomenal. We This was our second night stay in Bernice Lake. I had been wanting to come to Bernice Lake since the first time I'd heard about Bernice Lake. It just looks like the perfect location, and literally brought me to tears. It was a gorgeous location, high alpine lake, granite, clear water, cold. You know, all the trees are stunted in growth because of the snowpack and zones. And so I absolutely loved it. We actually got to see stars reflected off this water. It was so clear up there and quiet. Next morning, I got these clouds. Matter of fact, I may have a picture of it here. These clouds off, yeah, right here, reflecting off the water. Just it was a highlight of 10 years for me. It was quite a great place for me to go experience. What's funny is my son, he thought it was okay. He loved the waterfall. We hiked down the Merced Canyon, and then we went up to Washburn Lake, which he thought was maybe one of the prettiest places he ever been. So he loved it here. He had still the granite walls, but it had a big old forest line, beautiful water. Washburn Lake was definitely worth hiking to. You see Merced Lake. We camped right here along the river on our third night after about a 12-mile day of hiking, 12, 14-mile day of hiking. We crossed this river and found a campsite on the other side and enjoyed an evening with deer walking through our campsite and deer walking through our breakfast the next morning. So it was a great deal before we headed up Bunnell Point and Bunnell Waterfall and this canyon into the Lost Valley. This Lost Valley fire happened within the last 10 years. It took out a big forest here, but this is just before you get to the backside of Half Dome and Little Yosemite Valley, which is where we're going to see all the people at, obviously. that was a really cool experience. The wind blowing through here sounded like ghosts. Of course, we get to Nevada Falls. People are laying out sunbathing. There's crowds everywhere, and so we enjoyed Yosemite and got done with that trip, and then turned around immediately, got home, and our family had planned a get together with our other son in Quebec and Montreal, Canada. So we flew out to Quebec, Canada, and did a little family hike trip. So September was busy, and it was phenomenal, and we really did enjoy it. This last year, September was a pretty cool time. We put our fall hiking guide out. Also, that issue, our biggest issue of the year, we had all kinds of backpacking and hiking trips that we had done in the summer and some different tips. So uh, people really seem to enjoy that. Our fall cover was our fishing trip with the guys up out of Chocolate Lakes, and enjoyed putting them guys on that cover. So September, if I am honest, if you like backpacking, you don't have permit for September backpacking, you probably are missing out, especially early September. I really enjoyed that. It was probably one of my favorite trips in Yosemite. The weather was perfect for it. I'm sure there's some falls it's not, but that was pretty good. Obviously, we're talking fall. We're talking about fall colors in the Sierra. The end of September is when fall colors usually start up around here. October is really probably more of the fall color hikes. But the other thing is fall fishing. You're going to see the fishing, especially the river fishing, seems to really pick up in the fall in the Sierra. So when I go September, I pack and start packing in hikes. So I go to Hoover Wilderness a lot. Hoover Wilderness got great fall hikes. Lundy Canyon, Green Creek Canyon, especially late September, early October. Green Creek. I love going to Carson Iceberg Wilderness and getting back up in the wilderness. And Carson Iceberg Wilderness has lots of fall color in there. Um, there's just day hikes galore around Lake Tahoe on the east side, eastern range. You get to Marlette Lake, um, Spooner Summit. That whole area is a great place to hike around in. I don't typically drive on the west side very often in the fall. The east side is where I like to go. I've gone all the way down into June Lake Loop and done several hikes down there, Gardiski Lakes. You can get in the backside of Yosemite in September and get into several lakes up there. The Mono Pass area is some of my favorite areas to hike. Parker Pass Lake in the fall is absolutely gorgeous. Usually it's gorgeous any time of year. Um, so consider that when you're thinking September in the Sierra, where are you hiking at? Right, you can pretty much go anywhere in the range. I would get over on the east side. It really is that's the time to be. Everywhere from Lake Almanor to the north to probably uh, Bishop in the south, maybe a little further in the Bishop in the south. Um, you can get some great fall colors, great fall hikes. It's great weather. So think about that. If you're a fall fisherman, you don't need me to tell you where to go. You already know the fishing season and the October hatch, and some of the things in the Truckee River and the Walker River. Just a great time to be out and enjoying the elements. So October this year for us, and I'm almost done here. We're going to close up here in the next few minutes. October was Lake Tahoe for me. This is recovery season. I like to just go catch wildlife, fall colors in the area. This is Alpine County, which had a great fall season this year. We found a new beaver dam up there, catching wildlife and birds. Um, family weddings at the lake and Genoa. But this is when the light show started. The Boreal light show started in the region. We had the comet go through. We had some great night skies.
All right,
So
we're
we
heading up
made one
Tiger
last trip
Pass.
to Yosemite in
Hope you have a
October
great day.
and took some friends up and hiked Lyell Canyon and let
Okay,
them
we
see
actually
that for the
found that
first
May
time. They'd
Lake
never
was
done that hike. We originally planned to go to May Lake, but they closed the gates already. So we spent the day around Twilight Meadows just hiking around, and it's usually a great experience. So usually in fall, I am getting as many trails as possible. I'm looking for day hikes that are probably within a 10 mile, maybe 10 to 14 mile length total. So 7 miles out, 7 miles back. Take my camera everywhere I go because fall colors and wildlife are everywhere. Um, and then the harvest festivals, right? Apple Hill's open. You got all your harvest festivals starting around the Sierra, so they're a great time to be in the Sierra for small communities. West Side especially has a lot of fall stuff. That's September, October time as well. And then again, Reno has lots of festivals and events. And as my last video here is my November, December. We're still in December here. We got great skies and snow this year in the Sierra early, so we've been snowshoeing since November, and that's when life's good. And when we get start snowshoeing in November, that's a good thing. I actually have got in on Taigo Pass in November in the past and hiked in Yosemite in November. So November is one of those seasons where you can't really tell what you're going to be doing snow. It is the fishermen usually go further east. Pyramid Lake has a good fishing season late in the season. Hot springs become a big thing. So getting out the hot springs. This is a bird conservancy that just opened up north of here that we went to. Took some pictures. Um, the hot springs, getting back to that, that's a pretty popular thing to do, right? That's go hot spring and starts up like, and then again camping in Death Valley, big Sierra you have to do in November. That was probably the best weather I ever had camping in Death Valley was November. So that's a good time to go and put your tent up and experience that. Let's see. Hi. Yeah. So if you can get in the national parks before the snow falls, the last late season, that's good. And then this is I'm it's my dream board. So this is some pictures I have of some Eastern Sierra lakes that I hope to go experience this year. That I've been planning. So I spent a lot of time in November and December after I finish our snow issue looking at, okay, what reservations am I going to make? Where do I want to go backpacking and hiking at? So I spent a lot of time in November, December, either in the dirt in the Carson Valley or in Alpine County in the snow. Take some bigger trips to Lake Tahoe. Hidden secret places like Lake Tahoe that people miss all the time is called the Brodovich Trailhead, north might be called the North Tahoe Trailhead nowadays. They have a parking lot there with a heated bathroom, and there's a great little loop that you can snowshoe up there. So take a look at that. We have some details on our website for that as well. Obviously, Christmas time, Christmas tree lightings, parades, Comstock on the Christmas, Virginia City, all things that we love to do. The cross country skiing really starts to pick up. Shout out to our friends at Nordic. Oh shoot! See, an hour and a half show. I'm starting to run out of my memory. There's a Nordic group in North Lake Tahoe that grooms trails up out of Chickadee Ridge and that region there. Shout out to them. There's also some great cross country things about Truckee. So all that's popular in December before you doing your holiday. You get out. So all right. Wow, I have a lot of work to do to timestamp all that. That was an hour and a half. I didn't have a way to figure out guests today. I do. If you did show up today and you come back and watch the show, I do apologize. It's my first attempt really trying this live thing. I'll learn and go get some information. But I hope you enjoyed the show. It is my end of year wrap up, if you will, for the podcast. We look forward to bringing a great new show next year with lots of new guests. We have guests already online for talking about fishing in the Owens River, snowshoeing on Truckee. Got guests down in Mammoth talking about a new airline down there and all the winter recreation in Mammoth lined up. So we're trying, all these guys are starting to pop up. If you know a business in the area who deserves to have their story told or has a unique place in the Sierra, I would love to tell their story. Let them know I'm available out here. Hit that like and subscribe button. Share this with your friends. If you'd like to talk about the Sierra, share your comments down below. Let us know how you're feeling. We'll love to give you your answers online or in our magazine. Our magazine is free. It's online at sierrarecmagazine.com. Although we do have a paid option of support. It's $18 a year, and we give 40% of that back to our trail associations. That just helps us fund all these different things that we're doing. So if you'd like to subscribe on that too, you can find that at sierrarecmagazine.com / subscription, I think. Thank you for joining us. Happy New Year. Hope you have a great, safe trip. I know Reno has their New Year's going on. You got Palisades, Heavenly, Kirkwood, Mammoth. Everybody's got something going on for the holiday. So go out and enjoy it safely. Hope you find a new adventure in 2025. And we hope that Sierra Rec has been a voice that helps you discover more and discover more in Sierra, new places to go. We'd love to hear your story of Sierra. Share it down below. Give us a comment. Send us a DM. Like us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. If it stays around, we're all in all of them. But we really appreciate you joining us today. Happy New Year wherever you're at, and we hope to see yours in your future soon. Have a good night.